Okay, guys. Hey, coaches, I want to say thank you. It's Jerry Gallagher from the NJFCA, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being part of the NJFCA Believe Clinic. We have a great 3 days of football here. Started off strong last night. Today has gotten off to a tremendous start. And then we go again tomorrow until 11 o'clock will be our last speaker. So please join in on as many talks as you can. And then the good feature about this is that you can always go back later on. And if you missed a talk or two, take advantage of that. The best thing about this clinic in my mind is that we're not just learning and talking football, we're helping a great cause, and that we're helping Eric LeGrand and his Believe Fund and all. And if you know anything about Eric, there's no better example of positivity and a love of the game of football than what Eric LeGrand portrays. So thanks for contributing to his fund, and here we go. Our next speaker, it is really an honor to introduce him and all, is Brandon Streeter from Clemson University. And Brandon has a great coaching past. You know, he's coached at Liberty University, he's coached at the University of Richmond, and he's been at Clemson, including his years as a quarterback there for 14 years. I think they've won 6 straight ACC titles now. And you have to be living in a bubble if you aren't aware of the Clemson quarterbacks and what they've done. You know, Trevor Lawrence certainly is a great example. Deshaun Watson before that, and I'm sure Coach had another couple of guys prior to them as well. So he's done a tremendous job at Clemson with the quarterbacks. He's done a tremendous job as the recruiting coordinator. I think they've had number 1, number 2 recruiting classes in the country. So tremendous job there. The best thing, though, that I would like to say about Brandon Streeter is that his father is calling me on the phone right now. No, that's the phone call. No, I'd have to share that. All right. But the best thing I can say about Brandon is that he comes from a football family. His dad was the head coach at Gettysburg for, I don't know, over 40 years. And Brandon's just kept up that coaching legacy. And it's not just a matter of producing quarterbacks. He's a guy who does things the right way and understands how important it is that you be a good person off the field more than you be a good person on the field, something we want to portray to our players all the time. So without further ado, Brandon, thank you so much for doing this, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Coach Gallagher. I really appreciate this opportunity. You know, it's an honor and privilege to be able to do this, and just thank the New Jersey Football Coaches Association for giving me this time. And like you said, I know there's a lot of connections from New Jersey with my dad, Barry Streeter. And, you know, I've always heard a lot of great stories that he used to say just about his recruitment of a lot of those high schools. And that's where my connection is with Coach Gallagher and guys like Bill Gorski, and then there's the connection with Joe Susan and Kevin Higgins that are, you know, just guys that I've known for a long time. And again, just appreciate the opportunity. And what I wanted to say first is, just as we all know, you know, we've been through a unique year, and all of us had to deal with COVID in different ways. And I know there's so many stories from not just being at home, but also with the programs that you had to run, whether it be a high school or college. And there's so many lessons I think that we've learned from that. And I know for us here at Clemson, and for me personally, you know, probably the most important lesson, one of the most important lessons, was just that our players truly need us now more than ever. You know, we really had to do a good job here at Clemson to allow these guys to communicate, and finding ways for them to communicate with us, and giving them that platform and opportunity to have some open discussions and allow them to voice their opinion, I think is very, very important during this time. And hopefully some of y'all felt the same way, but man, we really grew together as a team because of that. And we had a lot of opportunities to voice their opinions and to discuss things and just kind of have that round table discussion. And I think that's very, very important. And then, that really carries over to the meeting rooms as well. And just being able to have your particular position group like I have with the quarterbacks and just be able to communicate with them on a personal level and be able to really just be transparent. And I really believe that, like I said earlier, we grew together even more so than we ever have before. And just want to make that point as far as, hey, we have a job to do as coaches, whether you're at the high school level or at the college level, to really be an influence on these kids, because they really need us. And we all know that they come from all different backgrounds. And so I really think one thing that has been neat at Clemson ever since I've been at Clemson, I mean, the culture has been incredible, but just having that positivity, always finding ways to look on the bright side of things, because there's a lot of people that had some tough times throughout this past year. And so just finding positivity, being enthusiastic, being upbeat, and really letting these kids see you smile and let them smile, I think is very, very important during this time. And before I get into the football stuff, another thing, I'm just blessed and honored to be part of this staff here at Clemson. I'm going into my 7th season this fall, which is crazy to even say, but Coach Sweeney's created an incredible environment and culture here at Clemson. And I'm just so excited about being a part of it. Our offensive staff is truly, we have great camaraderie and unity, and our players see that. And there's no doubt that the leader of our offense, Tony Elliott, our offensive coordinator, is not just the offensive coordinator, but now as a tight ends coach, does an incredible job. He does a great job of managing our offensive staff, and just such a humble guy, humble man, no egos at all. Robbie Caldwell coaches our offensive line. Robbie's been doing this for a long time, and he's one of the best in the country at it. And then Tyler Grisham has been with us as a receiver coach now, and he's just finished his first full year as a full-time coach with the receivers. Tyler was a great receiver here at Clemson and played in the NFL for 4 or 5 years, and just does an awesome job with our receivers. And then our newest hire is a guy named CJ Spiller, who most of you guys should know that name, but he's a guy that played here at Clemson and also played in the NFL for several years. And he just became a full-time coach, coaching our running backs, obviously, here this spring. So again, with our staff as an offensive staff, there's really no egos. Everybody is got a job to do, got a responsibility to do, and everybody's obviously held accountable for that. But like I mentioned earlier, Tony does a great job of managing this offensive staff, and our kids see that, our players see that. And I think that's one point that I wanted to make to everyone, is that, the players see how the coaches respond to each other. The players see how united the coaches are, and it truly does trickle down to them as a team. And I think that's been a big part of our success as well at Clemson, is because, starting with Coach Sweeney, has been here for several years now, at not only as a head coach, but as an assistant coach. And a lot of the guys on our staff has been here. There's not much turnover, which shows that the culture is the most important thing. And our players see that. And so anyway, I just want to say a couple of those things before I get started with the quarterbacks. And I also wanted to say that if you ever had a question about Trevor Lawrence, I'll tell you this right now, just to set it straight. When he came here from high school, he was throwing left-handed. And so I taught him how to throw right-handed. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. And he's probably going to be that first pick here in a week. But hey, it's all because of me. It's all because of me teaching him how to throw right-handed. And so anyway, I just want to make sure we got that clear as I get going. But the first thing I wanted to say here about the quarterbacks is just I really wanted to just make it something that's so important as a quarterback coach, that we look for when we go recruiting, and we look for when we're trying to decide who is the face of our program. Because these quarterbacks at this level, man, they're the face of the program. And at any level, they're the face of the program. Everybody knows who they are. And it's so important that we go out when we recruit, we go out and try to get that right fit for our culture. Very, very important. Obviously, the skill level and the talent is important, but more importantly for us, it's the fit. And it's people that truly understand that being the face of a program like Clemson, you know, they have to be high character guys, not just on the field, but off the field especially. So some things that are qualities for us as in the quarterback room that I look for, we look for as a program, is the character piece. And character is such a big part of it. You know, like I said, on and off the field. And if they're not a good fit for us, then usually we move on to somebody else. And so we know that, you know, that's a big part of their success and a big part of our success as a team. A poise factor, you know, talking about, again, most of the time that's talking about on the field, but really off the field as well. Just having that ability to have that poise, you know, when things don't go perfectly, how you remain calm and, you know, respond the right way and don't freak out and just, hey, just keep going. And, you know, if I had to pick one thing that Trevor Lawrence did, it was poise. I mean, he's a guy that was incredible as far as that category and being poised, and nothing rattled him. Even if he wasn't on a day, he would just continue to work and push through it. And I think that's a really, really good quality to have as a quarterback. Obviously, accuracy is something very, very important. I'd rather have a guy that could anticipate and have accuracy than have a guy that could throw a ball through a wall or throw it 100 yards. The accuracy piece is the most important thing, because if they can't be accurate, then obviously our guys can't make the plays down the field. So decision making, again, super important for us, for any quarterback, is decision making. They're not going to get on the field if they can't make good decisions, you know, and that's our job as coaches to help them, you know, have a checklist of how they're going to make those decisions. And I think it's very, very important that we are great teachers, very clear, very, you know, very, very just super clear with these guys, and that we communicate the right way with them so that they understand what we expect as decision makers. And I always tell my guys is, you know, as weird as it sounds, is I want my quarterbacks to think like I think. And I want to be able to sit back there on the sideline, and when the play is happening, and as I see it develop, you know, I know what my quarterback's going to do before he does it. And so as soon as he can be thinking like I'm thinking, and also thinking like Coach Elliott's thinking because he's calling the plays, you know, that's very, very important with the decision making. Leadership, as we all know, is critical. You know, thinking back about the different leaders that we've had, I mean, it's changing. First off, I think leadership is still there, but I do think there's a little bit less of vocal leadership, or they do it in a different way. But I do think leadership starts with accountability and earning the trust of your teammates and encouraging people all the time. I think that's a very big part of leadership, and those things I have to continue to reinforce to my players. And every year I talk to my players about, they have to change. They have to not change who they are, but they have to take it at another level as far as their leadership. And that's critical. So, you know, when Trevor came in here as a freshman, you know, he didn't have to be as vocal. He had to just earn the respect of his teammates through how he worked, how his work ethic, and then how he was off the field. And so he earned their respect. And then as that came about, he was able to be more vocal. And he's not a huge rah-rah guy or super like, you know, threatening guys or anything like that, like some guys can be. But he was very good about communicating with his teammates in the right way, and they responded the right way. And I think I see that a little bit more today's day and age, as far as leadership is concerned. And toughness, last but not least, I mean, it is just as important as any of those. And when I talk about toughness, we're talking about physical toughness, number one, being able to take a hit, standing back up the next play and standing in that pocket and and just understanding that's what you signed up for. You signed up for being able to be tough and be able to stand in that pocket, take a hit, get back up, and make the throw the next play. And then along those same lines, you have the mental toughness, just as important. I mean, mental toughness in a quarterback at any position in football, but especially at quarterback, just being able to respond the right way when things aren't going well. Obviously, it goes hand in hand with the poise factor. But those are some really, really important qualities that we talk about a lot in our quarterback room. Just moving on, a couple other things before we get into some drills is, this is a theme that is probably the #1 theme here at Clemson. And we have a lot of themes that we talk about, but best is the standard. We talk about that all the time. And basically what it says underneath is how it explains it, but not necessarily going out there every day and being the best, because we know there's players that can't be the best in the country. They can't be the best in the world, but they can be their best. And so we really emphasize that each and every day is not being the best, but being your best and being really the best version of who you are. And so when I've had guys like Trevor Lawrence, hey, Trevor, you're not trying to be like Deshaun Watson. You're not trying to be like, you name it, whoever else that's come before you. All right. You just be who you are and be your best. And that's all we can ask for in our players. And it's so important that our players hear that from us, because that way they're not trying to be something else that they aren't. And it allows them to play to their full potential and to play, at their best. Another thing we talk about a lot is just, when the stadium is empty is when you truly get better. And obviously when you have practice and you have games, you got to shine in the games. But man, if you don't shine, you're not going to be able to shine in the games if you don't, practice when the stadiums are empty and when there's not fans. You can't just turn that light switch on and truly just go out there and be a gamer. It doesn't work around here. It's something that you have to earn on the practice field, and it's something that you have to earn, when nobody's watching. And there's so many examples, fortunately for us, we have guys that are willing to put in the work and willing to understand that word of earning everything that they receive, and so I just threw a couple pictures up there with the stadium being empty and the hard work that is important when there's nobody there. And then there's a picture of our indoor facility, and just, being able to express that to our players of just understanding, hey, the grind is big, and you got to just embrace the grind and embrace that grind and trust that, man, that hard work is going to give you so much more confidence in going out there whenever it is practice and going out there whenever it is a game, because you've done it a million times. So I think that's really important. Just real quick, a checklist item that I do each week. It's formatted maybe it's different than this, but it's really for my quarterbacks. When they come in on Sunday on their own, they can grab a sheet that has questions for them just to start preparing for that next opponent. And I think the earlier in the week that you can get that going, the earlier they're thinking about it. They're thinking about the opponent, and they're studying film on their own, because at the college level, obviously, we only have so many hours with them. And man, we wish we could have a lot more time, but unfortunately we can't, and we're restricted because of NCAA compliance and all that stuff. So our kids truly have to do some work on their own, and so we have a little checklist where they come in, and heck, personnel is one thing. Like, what does that mean? Okay, well, go watch the film, watch a couple games of the opponent, and just you tell me, go do some research. Who's their best corner? Who's their best sack leader? Who's their best player on defense, and just start learning their name and start learning what position they play, and obviously, and what number they are, where they're from. Just get to know the personnel. I think it allows them to internalize what they're doing each week. And then obviously down from there, you got the defensive structure. So as you're watching film, what kind of defensive structure are they in? Are they in a 4-down front? Are they in a 3-down front? Are they playing bear front? What kind of fronts are they in? What type of pressures are they doing? What kind of coverage? So what is their makeup as a defense? All right. What is that defensive coordinator like to do. And just to get a general feel of that. And obviously we talk about it in the position meetings, but it's something for them to get a head start before we truly have those position meetings. Situational tendencies, you know, what are their base defense on base downs and third down and red zone and 2-minute, all those situations are critical. And what does a defensive coordinator do maybe a little bit differently in those situations? And then I like to give them some, empower them a little bit, say, hey, what do you think is good to attack this team? What are some of our concepts that might fit against this defensive structure? And that's really important to do for your players, is empower these guys, give them some opportunity to voice their opinions, and heck, they'll surprise you sometimes. Couple things pre-practice in our meetings, just I think that are very, very important to our success, is number one, I've already talked about it, but communicating with your players. Man, communicating with your players is, if I had to pick one thing, that's the number one thing, to communicate and be able to have a reciprocal relationship with them, and they be very comfortable with talking about anything to you guys, to you as a coach, whether it's in the quarterback meeting room or in your office behind shut the door and have a heart to heart, whatever it is. I think it's so critical. I try to have individual meetings with all of my guys almost weekly. You know, during the season, it might get a little crazy. I might not be able to do it weekly, but you know, at least every other week, I'm having sit down. How's everything going at home? How's everything with, you know, your social life, spiritual life, so on and so forth. And our kids truly appreciate that. And I really think that it helps them develop in a lot of areas. But one thing we do when we start our position meeting, quarterback meeting, I'll come in here and I'll have a theme of the day. And sometimes I let them pick the theme of the day. And that could mean anything. That could mean something to do with football, such as, all right, the theme today is footwork. I just want you to have a priority for the day. And footwork is something that we need to clean up as a unit. And that's the one thing I really want you to emphasize. And then we'll talk about it. And I'll have an open discussion and talk about that. Sometimes it has nothing to do with football. And sometimes those discussions, honestly, are the most important discussions when you're talking about just life. You know, you're talking about situations that might be going on in the world at the time. And sometimes we spend 2 minutes or 3 minutes on this theme. Sometimes it goes 10 or 15 minutes. And like I said a minute ago, it's truly one of the most important things that we do. And I learned that when I came here, because you're investing into these kids, you're investing into their lives, and they see in you that, hey, this guy isn't just about football. This guy wants to talk to me about other things as well. So I think that's very important. We do that each day here at the quarterback room. Ask them questions. All right. That is so critical. Man, because you can ramble all you want, and heck, what is it? Like 30% of the time they're processing what you're talking about. But if you're asking them questions, you know if they understand what you're talking about. So find ways to ask them questions in your meetings is critical. And then having them make decisions. All right. Do they know it? How do you know if they know it if you don't ask them those questions? I get them on the board as much as I can. Again, I don't get to do it every day, but throughout the year during our meetings, I'll try to get them on the board, because I can get them all on the grease board at the same time. I'm calling out a play. I want them to draw it up as fast as they can, but make it perfect. And I'm telling them to give me what the progression is versus cover 2 versus 1 high versus cover 3 versus blitz, whatever it is. And they're writing it all down as fast as they can. And I'm trying to create a competition too, because whoever gets done fast, we give them a little tick mark, and we have a little competition. So we do that in the meeting room as well. And then obviously the best way for them to know it, or for you to know that they know it, is to have them teach the group. So once in a while, it's kind of hard during the season, but in preseason camp or in spring ball, I'll have a guy stand up, okay, talk to us about this protection, and I want you to teach it. Here's the clicker. You teach the protection, and then we'll all chime in and help. But if the kid knows how to teach, then the concept or a protection or whatever it is, then he truly knows it. So we also, obviously at the bottom there, you see we give tests. I will give weekly tests during the season, 2 days before the game. or a day before the game, and then they got to give it to me the morning of game day. And we cover everything. We go over that. We do quizzes during the week sometimes. Obviously, tips and reminders are critical, and that's just, what are some things that might not be obvious things that they really had to learn this week, or that are tips and reminders. So we make sure we do that. This is just a drill chart that I use just to help myself stay organized. You can see I got warm-up drills, all right, at the top, and I got a list of my warm-up drills, pocket presence drills, escape the pocket drills, ball security drills, miscellaneous drills. And drills that we're going to see here in a second are obviously very important to the success of a quarterback. But I think it's important as a coach, you stay organized, and you stay organized with, when you're doing those drills. And that's what this date thing is here, is just, hey, it kind of helps me stay organized. Okay, I did that drill on that day. I haven't done it in a couple of days. Let me get back to that drill. So it just helps me stay organized. It's a good little deal. Quarterback meeting sheet, I think, is good organizationally for me. So maybe you guys can take something from this, but there's the theme. So I put the theme at the top. All right. I put obviously the date, and then any kind of objectives for the quarterback. I have whenever I have drill time, there's my list of drills that I put. And I'm obviously, it's so important your quarterbacks see that you're organized, guys. I mean, that's critical, man. If you're not prepared, they know it, they see it. You don't want that. So try to stay as organized as you can. Think about and have it organized before you get out on the field. Here's where I put all my meeting notes, all my meeting notes in this section here, just so that I cover everything. I don't forget anything at all. And we're making that checklist there. Miscellaneous. A lot of times what I'll put in this miscellaneous box is if we have a team meeting, which we do every day before our position meetings, is if something Coach Sweeney talks about, or if somebody else is up there talking, I'll kind of jot it down in that box just so that I can reiterate or echo what the head coach is talking about, so that we're saying the same thing and we're communicating the same way. And then just another thing that we do, obviously, is each period, you have different, just organizationally, what am I doing on this period? What am I doing on that period? And I just put the period number, and then I put down what drills we might do, or who I'm with. I'm with the receivers that period. I'm with the running backs that period. So again, just an organizational chart here, or sheet that I use every single day, whether it be during the season or in spring practice. All right, just getting to the drills. All right, drill chart. All right, daily warm up. These are kind of the four different categories. Maybe I have a daily warm up that I do pretty much every day. I have pocket presence drills that I pick and choose from based on how much time I have. I have ball security drills that I do a form of ball security every single day. And then there's miscellaneous drills. The daily warm up starts with every day, ladders, bags, shoots. All right. Emphasize ball security. Okay. Then we'll do some kind of pocket presence. All right. Because that's the most, if you had to pick one thing from me, my opinion as a quarterback's coach is that pocket presence is the most important thing. Just being able to feel and move in the pocket. I'm going to show you a lot of film on that here in a second. And then the gauntlet is part of our daily warm up, which is pop-up bags. You'll see here in a second, and then throwing warm up. So here they are. Ball security, real quick. Our ball security is something that we emphasize all the time. As you can tell, the top picture of Trevor is exactly what we want. Wrist is above the elbow. All right, he's got the 5 points of pressure. Really, the fifth point would be his off arm, but he's got eagle claw. He's got forearm. He's got his armpit. He's got his rib cage. Okay, and then the fifth one would be his left arm if we needed that fifth arm in there. Okay, so that's what it means when I say 5 points of pressure. Wrist above elbow. All right, so you can see wrist is above the elbow. That's so critical. Every time that you make it, that they're training that every single day, or you're not, or you're going to get this, the bottom picture. So that's a bad picture of ball security. The wrist is below the elbow. All right. And it's critical that you point that out to your players every time you see it in a game. All right. And emphasize that. So good picture, bad picture. two hands in traffic. We want to make sure we coach up awkward body positions. All right, forcing the wrist to the chin. All right, here's our ladders and bags. Okay, so this is something we do again every day. It kind of gets the blood flowing. We haven't even started throwing yet. We just did our dynamic warm up as a team. We're after stretch. This is usually for us during special teams. Okay, so you can see me holding the. I like the punching of the boxing glove on a stick. I love that thing because I can poke at these guys and I can use that for ball security every day. And so what I'm teaching here is pad level, okay, and ball security. Those are two things. When I teach drills, I think it's very critical that you don't try to tell them too many things. You give them one or two things to think about, maybe three things to think about, so that they're not, trying to do too much. Okay. So pad level as they go through the bags. All right. And then I have a chute right there, which makes them lower their pads. But the whole key is that their pad level is that same level through the whole time, so that they train and create that muscle memory of going through the chutes and going through with pad level and ball security. Then I'll go sideways. All right. So they'll do side shuffle through the bags, and I'm poking at the back of there. I'm just trying to always create some kind of ball security right here. Okay. They're just warming up their legs. You can see here, they're kind of going through two bags at the end of it. So it's like a short yardage drill or a goal line situation where the quarterback has to run and get that first down. All right. So those are the main things right there that I'm teaching as we go through these. I can use the ladder sometimes. You can tell DJ is our starting quarterback now, a kid that just finished his freshman year, just playing tall right there. He's just way too tall. I want his pad level a lot lower. All right. That way he shouldn't have to duck when he gets to that chute right there. So you can see we do that a good bit. All right. And we'll do that pretty much every day. All right. Another thing I add to this is just awkward position. So I'm poking at them while they're sitting there with their hand on the ground. That's an awkward position. We don't get to have live. The quarterback's usually not live at Clemson whenever we're practicing. I mean, very rarely is that happening. And so I want to try to create these awkward positions as much as possible, so that when it gets into a game that they've done it before. And so you can see I just added this to the warm up as well. So his hands on the ground, that's awkward. His hands holding himself up, and we're just creating those positions for them to learn to be in that position and have good fundamentals when they're in that position. All right. And then if I want to incorporate the tennis ball, I got to do a better job of this drill. I usually do this on Thursday, our last day of the week for our physical preparation, but same type of stuff. Now they're catching a ball as they're going through the bags. The only thing is it's creating a bad habit here. I got to throw the ball a little bit lower so that their pad level stays low. And I'd love for another guy to be hitting the ball at the same time. So while they're focused on the ball and not necessarily focused on the football, all right, they're getting poked at from behind, all right, so that it creates, a good fundamental. This is a great picture. Again, this is a national championship game. I want to show you back-to-back national championship game pictures. One is a great picture by Trevor, all right, a couple years ago when we won the national championship. He's holding it with his left hand. Ball security, is really, really good. Once again, it's so important that you show your players this in games, especially so that they say, oh, that's why we do that drill every day, because this is the most important time of the year. Anytime you're in a game, this play as a quarterback, we get to touch the ball every play, obviously, right? So we got to emphasize this. We have to emphasize this is the most important thing. If we put the ball on the ground, it changes the whole game. And so this is when Trevor put the ball on the ground. All right. And this could have changed the game, whether we would have won it or not. I don't know, but it's just poor ball security. And so it's important to teach and show these pictures. You can see him, the ball's swinging everywhere. All right. And so I think they seem little things to the people in the crowd, but this is the most important thing. That's why we do it every single day. His wrist is below his elbow. All right. And now he doesn't have the strength to hold that ball. All all right, and we lose the ball there. So that's important. Gauntlet, I'm going to go a little bit quicker here, but I'm sorry, we're still in pocket presence. So pocket presence, I do this pretty much every day, and it just shows these guys that our pocket presence is trained all the time. It should be muscle memory. You shouldn't have to think about it. But what I'm teaching here is I don't want these guys to click their feet together. So that's important as you're teaching quarterbacks, that their feet do not get too close together. Now, some of these pictures you're going to see them clicking, and I got to correct them. So I don't want them clicking their feet together, coming close together, because that's not how you throw the ball. You throw the ball in a position like that, a little bit wider base than you would if they're together, too close together. So DJ is just a little too close together right there. All right, as you look at number 5 right there, just a little bit too close, but just going in between the bags. All right, still kind of getting warmed up. They really haven't thrown a ball yet until this drill. They might throw it to a manager, as you can see them standing over here. But I mean, they're going back and forth, slide and glide. I don't want them bouncing up and down. All right, I want to be able to be in a comfortable, all right, my knees bent the whole time. Don't let your quarterbacks have your knees straight, all right, or your legs straight, because the first thing they have to do when they throw a football is bend the knees. So let's get into that position, and you got to do it every day so that they don't have to think about it when they're doing it in a game. Okay, so very important there. That's what we're focused on. And then I do some commands right here. So as they go through the bag, I'm saying back, and when I say back, they just retrace their steps and go backwards. Then I'll say front, and then he goes back forwards like the way he was going. Then I can say ball. At any time I'll say ball, and I want him to plant his back foot and trigger it. Okay, so they're just working there. This is really good. Hunter Helms right here, one of our walk-on kids, does a great job. He's pretty fundamentally sound, and you can see his feet right here, nice and wide. All right, but he's ready to throw the ball at any time. That's the key, is that they're not taking too much time to trigger the football. Okay, so I do that both ways. Just a couple clips just to show that it works in games. Just Trevor in the pocket, he did a really good job in the pocket. There were some games he was poor and he missed some throws. But man, I'll tell you what, he was as good as I've seen as far as in the pocket. And so I'm selling my younger guys right now, like, hey, this kid's going to be the first pick of the draft because he took pride in the little things of his footwork in the pocket, footwork, moving, understanding when he had to, break out of the pocket and scramble, and when he could stay in the pocket. And yeah, that's obviously something that's pretty natural too. But man, this little footwork stuff makes the difference in making an accurate throw right there. So very, very important that we coach up pocket presence. Here it is again, just kind of moving in the pocket just slightly. I mean, just a subtle movement, not flushing out of the pocket when he feels pressure on the left side. All right, but just kind of nice base. You can see his base right here. Look at his base. He's got a good wide base. He's not clicking his feet right here, and he's able to trigger the ball quickly, all right, to make these throws. Okay. All right, we call this the gauntlet pop-up bags. All this is, again, is subtle movements in the pocket. All right, and I'm talking about ball security right here, because these bags sometimes I'll slap the bag into the ball. All right, just to make sure that they have front hand pressure, which means their left hand, if they're right-handed quarterback, left hand needs to have that pressure to keep that ball, all right, from getting slapped away, all right, by the defender. Because every game there's pictures of the defenders slapping at the ball. So we'll just move in and out of these bags, all right, just emphasizing pocket presence again, and then obviously emphasizing our ball security, going both ways. All right, I usually slap the ball. A lot of times I'll have the boxing glove and just tapping at the ball, all right, and then they'll just take one step off that back foot. They'll take one step and throw to their target. Again, this is all part of our warm-up. Again, just Trevor moving. Look at him moving the pocket. It's like he's going around one of those bags right there, and I got to show I show it, all right, so that they take pride when they're doing the drill. All right, they take pride and they have purpose and they're intentional whenever they're doing their drills, all right, because they see them in a game doing it. All right, and in the throwing warm-up, I do soft toss. I do reset, I do crossover plant. Sometimes I do a RPO, just kind of a mesh and throw. I do on the run and drop it on the helmet and deep balls every day so they can get warmed up. Usually it takes 5 to 7 minutes. Just kind of depends on how fast they're going, but it's approximately 25 throws, give or take 10 throws, but we use these little, I call them step right. So these little things right here, just to show them that they're not overstriding. And these step right little toys can stretch either way. So for a bigger guy, they might stretch it a little bit further, but all they do is put their back foot. If you see Tyson right here, his back foot is just on the back side of the one side of the step right. And then the front foot, he's allowing about 5 to 7 inches at the most. And if he steps on the front part of that step right, then that shows that he's overstriding. So all it is just a little bit of a apparatus that allows them to be disciplined with not overstriding. Okay. So literally every day they just put that out in front of them, and that's how they start warming up. I put a net here, not to throw in the net for this drill, but to throw right over top of that net. Okay. So that ball skims the top of that net. It just allows the elbow to stay high. That way my elbow isn't too low as I'm releasing the ball. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm emphasizing that good high release so that when he releases the ball, the elbow is above the shoulder. That's critical when your quarterback's throwing the football. Okay. The elbow is above the shoulder. All right. Now, sometimes, different arm angles are critical to have, and the talent of these guys, sometimes they can throw with different arm angles, but when they're in the pocket, then I want to be able to see them throw with those different, with that elbow above the shoulder. Okay. After they do this, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here because of time, but now I'm going to take 4 different directions reset. So I'm resetting. If you watch Hunter Helms, he resets all 4 ways: back, front, right, left. All right. And again, I'm getting confidence every time I do that. I'm getting confidence as a quarterback because it's just preparing your body, training your body for when you're in the pocket and you have to move 1 step, all right, out of the way, or just shifting in the pocket to create some space to make a throw. All right. Sometimes they'll do 2 shuffles, and that's fine. I like how they mix it up. Sometimes they'll do 2 shuffles. Okay. So I'll do that as a quick warm up. They'll do a couple throws. Now they're working on rhythm throws, more of like a crossover plan or a 3-step 1, 2, 3 rhythm. All right. And plant and throw. Let me see here if they got to that. Yeah, here we go. 1, 2, 3 rhythm. You see DJ number 5. All right. He's just taking rhythm throw, throwing an out cut or throwing a bang 8 or a thin post or something that we need to throw on rhythm. I just make sure they do it in their warm up. Do it a couple times both ways. Okay. And then we'll throw on the run after that, I believe. He's going to both sides. All right. Now we're going to throw on the run, just getting them loosened up, doing all the different throws from different launch points. Okay. And then they'll finish up by throwing just a couple deep balls. And I'm really letting them decide on how far they want to throw, but they're just kind of airing it out a little bit, putting some good air under the ball and landing it on the helmet of the partner, trying to see some touch and also just stretching their arm a little bit as they're doing that. And we're just working on some play action footwork. Okay. So that's basically, hey, that's our warm up every day. All right. One thing I wanted to add to that is just, along with pocket presence, of just adding little toys, I think is fun. It makes it fun. Whether you have these big blue balls, these bouncy balls to throw at them, or towels, we'll show you that here in a minute, or just any other kind of props that you can use to change up the drill, not necessarily the drill, but just kind of what they're seeing every single day. And just trying to change that up, yearly, I think is important. So this is one drill we do, pocket presence, and we're flushing out of the pocket, and we got a little gauntlet with 2 guys. And so I'm telling Trevor, you're going in between the bags on your own, and I'm telling you back, front, and then I say out. I want you to run forward, get out of the pocket, make a throw, all right, on different launch points. So every time we do this drill, we try to change the launch point up. And I do think it's important, if you have the people, to have somebody run any kind of route. Just a moving target, I think, is critical when you're doing some drills like this. Again, this is all pocket movement and ball security. All right, good job by DJ moving the pocket and being able to have good ball security right here. There's Trevor again. You can see just making different, slightly different throws, different parts. You know, where you're throwing it from the launch point. You can see this is an awkward position launch point. All right, not that you teach this or you want this, but as much as you tell them not to, they're going to do it, unfortunately. All right, so I used to have a little Indian proverb that I used to teach my guys, and now I don't say it as much because they do it anyway. But if you roll right, throw left, you sit bench. Or if you roll left, throw right, sit bench. Because we know what happens when the quarterbacks do that. They throw if they're rolling to the left and they try to throw it to the right across the middle of the field, heck, 9 times out of 10, all right, it's a pick. And so now these guys got so much talent, they get a little success, and I just don't let them get in the habit of doing that. All right, but here's an example of Trevor just throwing off of his normal launch point, and hey, that's the drill we just showed you. All right, that's a drill right there of stepping up in the pocket and throwing on the run, taking a hit, making a play, all right, in a big situation. You know, so that's critical, again, to show these guys that stuff. All right, how the drill relates to the game. All right, here he is, escaping the pocket, finding a guy downfield. Now, he doesn't do a great job at all, which I got to point out. All right, here's another thing. Hopefully you guys do this already, but I don't care if it's Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, or my starting quarterback. You can't coach him up less because he's the starter and he's going to be a projected #1 guy in the draft and all that. He wants to be coached. And he needs to be coached. And I think that's so critical that you don't give leeway to guys because they're extra talented or because they're the best player on the team. I mean, you got to hold these guys accountable, and they want that, and they appreciate that. And I think that's important. So I got to get on Trevor that's poor ball security. His hands are everywhere. He needs to have 2 hands on the ball until he escapes the pocket, until he is ready to throw the football. Okay. So I got to make sure that's coached up. Here's DJ just making an off balance throw. And he's the best I probably have seen with different off balance throws, but this is him, I think the first game of the season, just kind of moving in the pocket and making an awkward position, but you just saw it in practice. Great job with his ball security right here. When he's maneuvering right here, keeping 2 hands on the ball when there's a defender trying to knock the ball or tackle him. You know, I think that is that's critical. A great picture for him and just making that throw, which is not, I mean, that's not coaching right there other than the fundamentals, but that arm angle, I mean, that's you can't coach that up. I mean, this is another picture of DJ against Notre Dame. All right, moving out of the pocket and making a throw. You know, he can do that stuff. So you got to have some parameters on guys based on their talent level, all right, of making that throw. I mean, I haven't seen a guy ever make a throw like this. And so it was one of those deals where, like the basketball player that shouldn't be shooting a 3-pointer, that center that steps behind that 3-point line and was like, hey, I'm taking this shot because I'm wide open. It's like, no. Oh, great shot. Great job. You know, I mean, that's kind of one of those deals right there. So another drill we do is moving in the pocket here. Hey, I'm putting these bags. All right, here's my pop-ups. I'm just kind of creating a presence with these bags of like where the tackles might be in the pocket, where the guards might be in the pocket, just so the quarterbacks, you know, get that presence of that. And then I can be as creative as you want to be. And I'm just doing a figure 8 around one of the bags and then resetting with the 1 step and making a throw, whatever throw you want to make. And here's Trevor doing it, stepping up in the pocket. All right, just moving in the pocket, making a throw. Okay. Here's DJ. All right, moving in the pocket, stepping around the bag. All right, pocket presence, 1 step, throw from the pocket. Okay. Another drill I like to do a lot is, I like this reset. I call it reset net. All right. And they're doing it at the same time. And you can see what I'm doing right there. I'm just kind of coaching them up on what their footwork needs to be. It's going forward, backwards, right, left. And then I give 2 hands and say ball, and they go 1 step and throw. All right. And they're trying to hit a target, believe it or not. Trevor missed the whole net. All right. But they're hit a target and they're competing against each other. And the next time they do it, I have them switch sides, and you can see they're shuffling twice now. So now they're shuffling twice. Every time I give them a direction, they're moving in the pocket, and they should be balanced the whole time. In the pocket, balanced. And then I'll give them 2 fists, which direction I want them to go. And now they're going to go ahead and make that throw after the 2 shuffles to that side. Okay. Here it is again. Now I'm just using the green ball, a big ball, just to throw at him. All right. He's in the pocket. I give him a green ball. He resets. And I still got the big pop-ups there just to see the presence, to feel the presence of these guys, of the pocket, of the linemen. All right. There's Trevor making a movement right there. Missed that one. Comes back, does it again, makes a movement in the pocket. All right. And then again, just showing you this one, movement in the pocket and making a throw down the field. Excuse me. You can see he just did a great job of maintaining his base at all times. And you can see most of the time he's balanced. And there's times where he couldn't be balanced, but most of the time he's balanced. So now I'm just using, I'm using a bouncy ball again. I don't even have bags out there. So I'm just getting them moving. All right. Hey, react to the ball. Sometimes I'll pick it up and throw it at their head, and just kind of joke with them a little bit. And and they're just moving based off of something. You can throw anything you want at them. Sometimes I run at them. All right. I just want to see them move in the pocket, try to keep a good poise about them, and step with the back foot. Okay. So that's important. If I didn't say that earlier, as he moves, you see how Hunter right here steps with his right foot, which is his back foot. It's very important he does that because now he's ready to plant and throw. Okay, if he stepped with his left foot right here, then he would have to step with his left foot, then his right foot, and then throw, which might mean the guy becomes covered. So the timing of that is critical. So we try to teach that as much as we can. And you'll see in some of these pictures, they don't do that. And I'm trying to create a habit. Like right here, DJ, he reacted fast because I kind of kicked the ball at him pretty quickly. All right. And he moved his left foot first. Well, I want it to be muscle memory where he's able to move his right foot first. All right. So that he's ready to make that throw a little bit quicker. He could have triggered that ball a little bit faster right there. That time, again, just a different throw right there. All right. And you can see just movement in the pocket right here. Just a slight movement. Pretend that's a little bouncy ball I just threw at him. He just shuffles just a little bit over to create some space and making the throw. Accurate throws, obviously, is a key. Just sliding in the pocket, being balanced. All right. Here's one of my favorite ones of Trevor, man. He just held that safety with his eyes. All right. Stayed in the pocket, had good wide base, maneuvered in the pocket, didn't try to do too much. All right. And move the safety out of the way to create that throw. Again, just his mechanics just was at another level, and his footwork and his pocket presence just really, really, really good. Here's DJ. Now I'm teaching him, I believe this one was just a little bit more of a reset, like 2 shuffles, 1, 2. All right, so a little bit bigger reset. Now you might have to move a little bit more in the pocket and just making different throws. Okay. Now I'm just kicking it a little harder at him. Again, just try. Now this is a big reset. I call this a big reset where he's still maintaining poise, not necessarily getting spooked enough to run out of the pocket, but just enough to slide in the pocket, and maybe the tackle, the end dips inside and the tackle has to wash him down inside. And now DJ has to move out of the pocket just a little bit, maintain his base though, and make these throws. So here's a good example of Trevor doing this exact drill that you just saw, but He's in the pocket. You see how the tackle kind of washes down the defensive end on that twist, I guess. Trevor doesn't freak out and just automatically run right away. He sees space. Want him to be a quarterback in the pocket. Don't always go run right away. Keep your eyes downfield. Stay poised. Big shuffle in the pocket. He shuffled 3 or 4 times right there. So that's a big reset right there. Make an accurate throw. And then now we can make some guys miss, hopefully, in space. Again, Trevor just slide in the pocket. 2 or 3 shuffles in the pocket, making throws, different throws. So again, I like to change the launch point and also change the throw that you have the guys run into. If you have extra quarterbacks or a trainer, throw them out there. They don't have to know how to catch. They can just be a guy running in the way. You know, here's something I just kind of started doing this year, just to change it up a little bit for my guys. I just taped up the towel and put some, which added weight to the towel. So I'm just throwing the towel at them, watching them move in the pocket and trying to keep them disciplined so that they're not, you know, doing the wrong footwork. Okay. A couple times, you can see a couple times right here, Hunter just uses the wrong footwork. And so I can show this to him when I have time. Hey, we need to clean that up. You know, we need to clean up just, you know, some of the footwork, and they can watch themselves do this. We film everything, obviously, so these guys are able to watch some of this stuff on their own. But there you go, stepping with that right foot again. Boom, good. Right foot, left foot, right foot. Now that last one, he stepped with his left foot right there. I'd like for the right foot to be stepping first. Again, in the pocket, being comfortable, muscle memory. Another thing to tell your quarterbacks is, hey, don't see the rush, feel the rush, right? I don't want them to have to be looking at the D lineman, all right? It should be, hopefully, it's something natural. They can kind of feel the rush. And obviously that is, you know, an instinct that some quarterbacks have, some don't. But keep your eyes downfield on your progression, on your read, and just feel the rushers. That way you can move in the pocket. And here's just a one little reset. Just a one reset for the quarterback, just to move out of the way of this pressure by a blitzing linebacker. All right. He feels the pressure a little bit, just needed to create a little bit more space so that he could finish his throw. All right. And making a throw and being accurate. And again, I can't emphasize it enough. All right. That, you know, the more balanced your quarterbacks are in the pocket, all right, the more accurate they're going to be. So it's not something that you can just tell them, hey, you need to be more balanced. You have to practice it every single day so that they get used to this stuff. Here's one where he takes 2 shuffles, shuffle, shuffle, ball. Okay. You can see how accuracy is so important. Speaking of accuracy, I only got a couple more minutes, but one thing I do with my quarterbacks, you know, I got to be one of my mentors is a guy named Clyde Christensen, who's at Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. And he coached me here for my freshman year, and unbelievable man. But he has taught me a lot of stuff. And he's a guy that he taught me this, where whenever I'm grading practice film and even grading the game film, every single throw my quarterback makes, I grade him on the accuracy. So all I do is I put an A, B, C, D, or F on every single throw that they make. And then, you know, I just tally up all of their grades for every throw, and they get a GPA, just like they do in school. Okay. So obviously your goal is to get as close to a 4.0 as possible. And so it creates competition in the room. And I show them the stats after every single practice, especially in spring ball. I'll show them the stats of those GPAs from practice from the day before. All right. And I'll show them their completion percentage from the day before, and all that stuff I think is important so that they create that competition amongst themselves and then also amongst each other. All right, so that will be the last one that I'll do, because I know I'm out of time. I really appreciate this opportunity. It was a blast, and I enjoyed getting ready for this. And I just wanted to wish you guys the best of luck and success in the future. And again, appreciate the New Jersey Football Coaches Association for letting me do this. And when all this COVID stuff is finished up, man, I hope everybody can make it down this way. We're very open with a lot of things, so we'd love to have you guys come down and visit when that time comes. So again, thank you again. Appreciate the opportunity.